All right, we're recording. So good night. Good night. Well, we got to start this all over again, right? I clipped that one out of there. So, anyways, good evening, Holy Spirit Parish. Tonight we just want to, Rick Zahn and myself, wanted to get together and talk about giving you an update on the Haiti Well Project. And for those parishioners that haven't maybe been as abreast with the project, I'd like to just kind of share a little bit where we're at with this project and maybe where we started and where we are as of today. So if you recall, back in 2019, Father Max came to our parish, and during the masses, one of the things that he had brought up was the fact that water was a key element for life down in La Lomas, and they don't have a sustainable water source down there. So after a dialogue with Father Max, we felt that it was something our parish wanted to support. There was a lot of parishioners that were really engaged with Father Max and wanted to support this. So we've developed a Haiti Well project team, and over the course of the last 17 months, we've been working on getting a well project underway. So we worked with Haiti Outreach with his company, or a nonprofit actually, out of Minneapolis area. They've done hundreds and hundreds of wells. So we've contacted them for some guidance, as well as they've guided us to Northwater Consulting. They've pretty much helped us put together the plan and estimate what it take to at least find a feasibility study. We started off with a Good Friday collection last year to help pay for this, as well as a Mary Alphonse Bradley Fund grant. Parishioner Patrick Crowley was helpful in getting us directed there. We also started back in September actually putting this grant together and submitted it in 2020. In October 1st, we found out that they gave us a grant of $12,000, which was to help with phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was done in basically a desktop study and basically what's the geography and stuff, the geology down in La Lomas. And we started in December of this last year in 2020 with a on-site hydrogeological study. And this resulted in a final report to let us know where actually they felt the best spots would be for us to actually drill a well for groundwater in La Lomas. So, and that is where Rick Zahn's going to help out here tonight. Rick has a good background and be able to help us out and understand this final report. So Rick, can you tell us a little bit about the difficulties of finding water in sustainable water, that is, in this part of Haiti and La Lomas?
Yeah, sure, Rick. What we're talking about is a drilled well, and the drilled well typically goes through sand and soil, and below that is bedrock. So in our area, as you're probably well aware, in the Central Sands, we have a really thick layer of sand primarily above bedrock. And that sand accumulates water that percolates down, and that becomes the water table that we put our wells down into to draw water. Well, in this area of Haiti, the condition is that we have a very thin layer of sand and soil that overlays volcanic bedrock. And the volcanic bedrock is very dense. So there have been efforts in the past by the parish and others in the neighborhood to drill wells, and they may have water for a short period of time, but because of the thin layer of the aquifer, or the sand and soil above the bedrock, those wells do not always last in dry periods of time. They dry up, or the water quality is poor. And in most cases, if you just drill into the bedrock itself, into the volcanic rock, it's so dense that there's no capacity to hold any water. So that's where we came in contact with Northwater Consulting. They are a specialty engineering and science group, and they focus on helping us find the cracks and fractures in the volcanic bedrock, because that's the only way to, in this type of situation, to find enough capacity to store water and have a successful well. So the water finds its way to the surface of the bedrock, migrates along that surface, and then if there's a fissure or a crack or fracture, the water accumulates there. So that's what we're trying to find. So Northwater was retained as Deacon Rick indicated, to do a preliminary desktop study to get as much background information as they could get. They've also have direct experience working in Haiti on doing potable water well assessment. So they came with good recommendations and a good bit of experience. As Deacon Rick also said, that they then deployed to Lalomas in the middle of December of 2020, and they spent 2 days of data gathering. And what they did is they deployed like a long wire, about 1,500 feet in length, that had connections into the soil at various points, and then they charged that with energy to create a wave, a seismic wave that would penetrate the soil above the bedrock, hit the bedrock, and rebound back, and the instruments would collect data on the time it took and other parameters to give a sense of how dense the bedrock was and to look for anomalies that would represent these fractures or cracks. So they did a couple of cross sections. That we were looking at a target area about 1 kilometer in radius. So a kilometer is about 6/10 of a mile or 3,000 feet. So if you got a circle with a radius of 3,000 feet, that was kind of our target area. So they spent the 2 days down there. They felt that was adequate to get the data they needed. And they then came back to the States to analyze the data, and they have provided a final report. And they've come up with 4 specific locations where they have found anomalies in the surface of the rock that would lead them to believe that these were the most likely places where the fractures and fissures in the rock would be. Of those 4 sites, none of them are great. Even now that we have 4 sites, they're all rated either moderate or poor to moderate. So it's still no sure bet, but this is the best information we can have, and it beats just starting to drill holes kind of randomly looking for water. So of the 4 sites that they identified, 2 of them were about closer to that kilometer distance from the parish compound. Obviously, the Father Max would prefer a well located right within the parish compound. 2 of the sites were quite a bit distance. One of the sites was within the parish compound. It was not the site rated with the highest capability of or likelihood of producing water, but it was still rated as poor to moderate. And then there was another site about 1,000 feet away on property that's not currently owned by the parish that was also rated as moderate. So those 2 sites were the closest to the parish, and those are the 2 sites that Northwater Consulting has recommended that we consider when we take the next steps into developing a potential well for the parish compound. So that was really the end of the contract with Northwater Consulting. We've had a couple of good discussions and a Zoom call with them, and they're available to answer any questions we have. But now it's down to the next steps, assuming that we want to continue to move forward. What has to happen next is to put out a proposal or a request for proposal to well drilling companies in Haiti. And again, Northwater Consulting has experience. They can recommend a number of companies that they feel are competent and qualified. So we would likely start with the site within the parish compound. And the first step is to drill a borehole. That's simply drilling the hole in the ground, probably 8 to 10 inches in diameter, with a rotary drill down to depths of between 70 and 200 feet. That's kind of the range that we're estimating. And we have a specific site that Northwater Consulting has located where they see one of these anomalies, hoping for some fractures. And once we drill down to those depths, we're going to know when they're drilling whether they encounter water or not. The way the air hammer works, it's going to force any water in the hole back up, and the drillers are going to see that. So assuming we hit water that looks like it has potential. The next step is to install a steel casing with a screened section on the bottom. The screen allows the water to come into the 6-inch steel diameter pipe. And then that casing is packed with gravel from the bottom all the way to the top and then sealed with clay at the surface to prevent contamination. And then the well drillers test the well. They put a temporary pump down there and they draw water out of it. And they try to get it to clear up and get all the sediment out and get a sense for how much water we can pump on a constant basis and still have the well not go dry. So once, assuming we can make that happen with the well at the parish compound, the next step is to get a permanent pump to install into a submersible pump to install into the well, and then pipe the water to the points within the parish compound that the parish would like to see served with the water. So that's the basically nuts and bolts of how do we go from where we are now to having a functioning well, with the assumption that we do find water. If we don't find water within the parish compound at that site, then it's going to be some discussion on whether the parish can get control or permission to try to drill and develop a well at the next closest site about 1,000 feet away. So one step at a time, but that kind of gives you an idea of where we are and where we need to go to actually have a well that would produce water for St. Joseph's Parish. So with that, I think I'll throw it back to Deacon Rick and maybe talk a little bit about discussions with Father Max and funding and where we go from here.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Appreciate that analysis of the final report. So yes, I think the next step is to evaluate where we go. I've been in discussions with Father Max already, kind of gave him an understanding of where we found water on the compound. Trying to work with him a little bit of understanding the next steps that we have to take. And certainly, as Rick pointed out, that our next step really will look at trying to have the consulting firm help us getting that well driller, because we really need to get some estimates and find out what the final outcome of this financially is going to be as well. So I want to share a little bit financially where we're at, because it's we've made it thus far, and we've been able to fund this first two phases of the project. Next phase really is getting the actual drilling of the well. So to date, we've collected as a parish $33,080. With that, generosity of the parishioners here at Holy Spirit Parish was tremendous. We've gathered $21,080 with the Mary Alphonse Bradley Fund grant of $12,000. That brings us to that $33,080. The expenses that we've had thus far to date for the phase 1 and phase 2 with Northwater Consulting and providing that final report and analysis, those expenses came up to $12,416. So with that, we have a balance of about $20,664 in our account at this point in time. However, the actual well needs to be drilled. So the next estimate that Northwater has given us is probably about $15,000 for the well, just drilling the actual well and getting it prepared for actual getting the pumps and stuff like that in there as well. Distribution pumps and piping to the different locations within the compound, providing we can get water there on the compound area, would probably be about $3,000 to $5,000 as well. Northwater, their assistance, certainly will utilize their consulting services again. We're probably about another $3,000 to $4,000. Kind of a time and material with working with them on that and helping us out. So we're probably looking at about another $24,000 that we're going to need. Not another 24, but total $24,000 total for this project. It's kind of hard till we get those final estimates and those requests for proposals out there, which is our next step. So with our balance of $20,664 and $24,000, kind of a ballpark, we're probably about a little bit $3,500 or so short of that total funding that we'll need. So we will have this Good Friday. Our collection will be for the Haiti Well Project once again, and hopefully that'll take us to the need that we have. We're estimating 24,000. We'll see where that comes in, but. So our next steps will be to work with North Water and have them work with some drilling firms down in Haiti and get us some good solid numbers back so we can start this process. So I hope this has been a very helpful information for everybody. We'll have a little bit more detail if you want to find the nitty gritties of the report. I'll have that posted online. I also have it posted on this recording on their website, parish website, for you to take a look and listen to this, as well as I'll pass it along on an email link as well to parishioners and have a little write-up for those that don't actually have the capability of reviewing this online. So just want to say thank you so much, certainly on behalf of Father Max and on behalf of our Total Haiti project team, and parishioners of Holy Spirit Parish are stepping up to make this happen. And we're on one more step to go here, and hopefully we'll find some nice, clean, fresh water for our brothers and sisters in Haiti. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Rick, tonight for taking time to sharing us your expertise and understanding of this process. So with that, I want to wish everybody a blessed Lent, and we will see you in Mass. Have a good evening.